Following video is kind of a discussion of why we think the different institutions that we're going to talk about affected us. In aggregate, our group determined that we are most significantly affected by social, educational, and religious institutions, as evidenced by our journal entries throughout the semester.
I didn't go to school right after high school like most people do. There wasn't anyone that forced me to go. When I chose to go to school, I'd already been in the workforce for 5 years and making pretty reasonable money. So the decision to go back to school was something that I really wanted for myself, and that's really made a difference in my motivation for being here. I do so much better with my grades and everything now than I even did in high school, just because I want to be here. This is something that I chose to do, not anything that's been imposed on me by outside influences.
So I think I can relate to that in some respects, to the fact that coming in as an incoming freshman, I'm right out of high school and I didn't have the opportunity to necessarily experiment with different jobs and find out more who I am. I've been thrown into this and have to discover who I am in that sense through experimenting with different social groups and different social situations.
Yeah, I think we all agreed that college is kind of a tool for discerning our personality as we're growing up, as we're all pretty young right now, especially for me and Michael being freshmen. And I also had a lot of experiences with kind of wrestling with internal and external conflicts about where my motivation's coming from. Is it because I enjoy school, or is it because it's just what you do, what I'm expected to do as someone graduating from high school?
You're still trying to figure out kind of who you are while going to school, while you're really gearing yourself up for who you're going to be the rest of your life. So you're working towards defining something that you haven't yourself found yet. Yeah, and I think that's a difficulty.
Because it's like such a huge stepping stone place to be able to understand who you are and figure yourself out, is like gets you to that point.
Also, something I found interesting with like the outside influences, I kind of like what you were saying, because I know lots of people who feel like they're forced to go to college, but beyond that, like they have to go through a certain degree or career.
I think in general, school is just put in place for us to shape who we are. It's a tool to help us get to the point in life where we want to be, and we use that by building on things such as our social environment, our intellectual environment.
So, like, one of the things that has influenced me most in my social groups or social relations is those who are closest to me. So friends and family, they have a big influence on like my motivation, and I think I tend to hang around people who are like self-motivating individuals, but also who like help and support me.
I was just talking about my dad and how you said that like your family and your friends kind of influence who you hang out with, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like I wrote a lot about my dad, and I wrote about a lot of the things that we do, and so I like to be with people who do those things, and so that shapes me, because that's who I hang around. That's who I allow to influence me and what I do and who I am, I guess.
I think it's really interesting how the people that we spend time around and our social circumstances really dictate what our inclinations become and
And who you look up to.
Yeah, and you know, the kind of groups that we conform to. But it's really interesting to me, after you kind of have that identity and you've determined who you intrinsically are, that you seek out those groups that already share similar beliefs.
One term we used last time was actual friends, and I think that was in the sense of the difference between like mere acquaintances to the essence of people that you share the same interests with. One example was when you were talking about your best friend who has the complete opposite of you. You know, he's not into sports, but like he's your best friend because both of you just share those same interests.
Mm-hmm.
And Alfreda, you were saying the same thing, how you like surrounding yourself with people that think intellectually. And I think we all generally had that same agreement of surrounding ourselves to the people that we connected to on the most personal level.
It kind of goes along with the whole idea of symbolic interaction that we've been talked about. Like our individual interactions with these people have had like such large impacts on our life, like in so many different aspects. Like kind of like you're saying, it determines who we kind of want to hang out with, who we don't want to hang out with.
Right.
Kind of determines or either like strengthens or weakens like values or ideas we used to have before.
Especially that, because that affects your beliefs about society and
It kind of determines what you're gonna
the socialization.
do everything.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't believe in something really, or you don't really think that something matters to you anymore, you really don't generally do it. Say compared to something that you now, support.
I'm going to say that those social groups become what's important to you too, like your family, your friends. Religion was pretty big with me. It was kind of nice. Michael pointed out that a lot of the stuff I was talking about from my journal entries with religion were all empowering. It became something that's how I motivate myself. That's how I notice things that I want to work on and improve and grow. And so I guess that's like an umbrella thing for me, because it affects all my other things. It affects my social groups. It affects how I perform in school,
Kind of like
how I feel about myself.
the Keystone Institution a little
Yeah,
bit.
so it's an important social institution for me.
Right. And I think you were saying again last time about how your religion kind of affected your gender roles that you
Yeah.
decided were most important to you.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
being oldest sister.
And being a wife and a mother, and
Right.
that those are top notch on my priorities.
Yeah, it's religion.
I think I can add something to the whole religion aspect of that. Being a minority in Utah from the religion aspect of not being part of a major church or something and not being of a major set religion, I've kind of made religion in my life impact me in different ways, such as it's shaped me for how to act in society. Like there's different mores and like beliefs that I have to do within society to fit in, and it's shaped me to.
So do you think that it's like a positive thing or a negative thing for you?
I think it's definitely a positive thing in the sense where religion for me has helped me get to know and get my mind open to other people's beliefs. And it's also shaped me to be who I am from a basis of having religion in my life from a young age. But I no longer necessarily follow that path, or I see it differently. So religion has done for me what it has done for you guys, but in a different light. One thing that you brought up last time was the fact that religion doesn't make you a good person. It's
Right.
the values that we had, and religion happens to just be one of those like things that go on top of that. I don't know exactly what you said to that essence.
I think that's what makes your experience significantly poignant, is that they're decisions that you came to of your own accord, and not because a religion has been forced onto you or you've been socialized into a particular religion. And I think, I don't believe that being religious is, okay. I don't think as a whole religion is bad, but I think that there's something to be said for the value of choosing to do something for yourself
Yeah.
rather than
And
having
realizing that it
imposed
is
on
your
you.
choice.
Right.
That social institution affects it or gave you the basis for it, but that it's something that you came to for yourself
Yeah.
and decided was correct for you.
And I agree. I think it's also healthy that you recognize what the influences were that may have led you to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Talking about what you guys are saying, like right now, kind of like what I've talked about, like trying to figure out which church I'm going to be at. Because like in terms of religion, kind of like what Michael said last time, I think people have a hard time understanding that like religion is like the set of everything. Like Christianity is a religion, Islam is a religion, but like, I guess the whole thing that I'm trying to work out is what like sect or denomination I'm choosing to go to, because like I'm Christian and I'm going to have those beliefs forever. I think the big thing is just like trying to find out which one goes to me, more
Fits
specific,
you.
fits me.
So one of my experiences talks about how I've developed a really close friendship with one of my professors. And it started out just the professor-student relationship, and then as it progressed, we realized we had a lot in common, and we started becoming legitimate friends. And as I looked back through my journal entries and even just analyzed how the semester has gone for me, it became really apparent that I performed exceptionally well in that class. And I think part of that is due to the fact that it's no longer just a grade. There's not the detachment there that there usually is between a professor and a student. When I submit an assignment to this guy's particular class, I genuinely care about what he thinks about how I performed. It's not that, you know, even if I just got an A- in another class, that would be acceptable. But for him, he knows me and I respect what he thinks, and that would be below the effort that he's expecting from me. And so I realized that the more personal relationship you can form with those individuals who are teaching you, it seems like the more highly motivated you will be to perform well for them.
For me, school has been more of like a stepping stone, like, so I'm trying to, like, I use school, like, I don't see it like it's something super important, like, as far as my life goes. I see it as, you know, something I need to get done to get to the career I want to go into. And also I found that I don't write so much in my journals about, you know, overall how my school performance is going, but I've noticed that a lot of the small things, so like an exam on the test that I took, if I did well or bad, I usually include that in the journal just because I think it creates stress in my life for going positive or negative. So in my view, like, professors have more to do with like just me getting the grade.
So for my journal entries, I've kind of noticed some contrast between who I was in high school and who I am now. And I've noticed that socially, I tend to contrast myself against those who I'm socializing with and those in my friend groups. Like, for example, in high school, I was kind of more of the girly girl to oppose to my friends that were softball chicks and kind of tomboy-ish. And that kind of gave me more of my self-identification. And I kind of identified as, you know, a dancer chick, that type of girl. But once I got to college, I've noticed that since I have a lot more feminine roommates and friends, that I have become more of a tomboy, and that I kind of lift a lot. Like, I spend more time at the gym, and that's kind of more of who I'm feeling. So I kind of have some contrast between these two people that these kind of personas that I identify with. So I've noticed that through these journal entries, I've kind of been able to realize which part of myself I'd like to manifest through who I'm spending my time with socially.
When I moved up here to USU, I realized that I had become a lot more independent than my previous life. I realized this throughout my journals in the fact that I was experimenting with many different social groups. One thing that I noticed through every group was that each group had different characteristics and values and beliefs throughout each of them. And I was trying to figure out which values and beliefs that I found myself connecting with most so I could figure out who I was on a deeper level and develop more of a self-concept for myself.
So this semester, religion has impacted me in many ways. Specifically, it made me determine some social relations I may or may not have with certain people. The girl I'm currently dating is now on a mission and is very religious, and so like for a long period of time in my life I didn't consider the specifics of religion in my life, and I've now seen that there's been an uprising of it, of talking about it, because it's an important part of her life, but it's also an important part of my life that maybe I've just decided to neglect. Overall, I feel religion will help determine who I want to be as time goes on as well, because I've noticed during this time, during my journal entries, that whenever I'm talking about, you know, religion and stuff, it's almost always in a pondering light, but also it's become very positive in my life that I want it to grow more, because specifically remembering just going to church with my girlfriend's family was just one of the happiest moments ever.
Religion is steeped in all of my journal entries, really. I mean, there's bits and pieces of different things that are separate from that, but they're all affected by my religious view on it. Specifically, my gender role has a lot to do with my major decisions in life. The big ones that I'm kind of facing right now are like dating and marriage, as well as what career to pursue. I'm about to graduate and trying to figure out which grad school to go to. At one point in my journal entries, I wrote that the more that I pursue a career or a career path, the more I realize I want to be a wife and a mother. And that has a lot to do with how religion has affected me. So I guess in contrast to Alfredo's story, where it's kind of something that's starting to build him, it's something that affects everything that I do and everything that I choose.
With the specific experiences that we've noted through our journal entries, I think it effectively shows that the institutions of religion and schooling and our social interactions very much shape the way we think and the way that we act.